I'm gonna be able to come over here and I smile with you know because I know you guys aren't laughing or smiling with me. So I should not be doing the same. But hey guys. Welcome. I wouldn't even say welcome back to my channel. I'm just saying welcome because it's been too long. I'm saying welcome to all the old faces, to all the new faces, just to everybody. It is a pleasure talking to you. I'm actually pretty excited to talk to you guys. And I know I've been teasing and saying, oh, I'm going to drop a video or ask me something. I'm thinking about coming back on YouTube. But my grandma always tell me if I'm not in the mood to do something, don't do it. And when I'm in the mood to do something, that's when I'm going to do it. So here I am recording this video. And I just want to say thank you for being patient with me. A lot of you guys who are watching this video know that I'm currently deep in my master's. If you didn't know, then now you're knowing. I am pursuing my master's degree, big up higher education. And I wanted to, where is it? Yeah, so I wanted to talk about a year in the masters, which is why I waited until after my first year has been completed. I just completed it on May 5th, so 5 days ago, because today's the 10th. And yeah, let's get into it. But before, subscribe to my channel, like, drop a comment, tell me welcome back, and or even welcome to be fair, because again, we're not using welcome back, we're just using welcome because it's like a whole new entry. And remember to share the video. Share the video with a friend who's thinking about starting their masters. If you want to do your masters, save it. If your parents are about to do their masters, send it to them. Or you can just tell them like, oh my god, let's drop a video. Yeah. With that being said, let's get into the video. Now that we're back, let me start off by saying if you didn't know, I currently attend the New York University. Honestly, the Andrews girl really never left me because when people are like, you went to Andrews? No, I went to the St. Andrew High School for Girls, St. Andrew. But yeah, I go to NYU. I'm currently getting my master's degree in integrated marketing, so marketing of science and integrated marketing. I wanted to do a concentration in brand management. However, I was late to registration by a couple seconds. Yes, a couple seconds. And now it's looking more digital focused. But you know what? That's okay. We're gonna work something out. September, mega watch up the class then so I can enroll in those streams. Yeah. So now that you guys know what school I go to, or a refresher of what school that I go to, I wanted to talk about the journey, a year into a part. It's a 2 year program and I just completed a year. And it's funny that I'm making this video on May 10th because on January 10th, I wrote a note that says my master's degree, a blessing question mark, because I was really questioning if this was the right choice for me because starting my master's really triggered a series of events that I was not prepared for, which I also wrote in the notes. I wrote 2 paragraphs and then I stopped writing in the notes because the more I was typing the words, the more it cemented the fact that I am supposed to be on this journey at this exact time. And I don't know if you guys remember, I think I made a video a couple years ago, maybe 2020. Yeah, 2020, 2021, not 2020, where I said to myself that, well, I got into my master's and I applied for a scholarship. I didn't get a scholarship. And because I spoke about the master's so much, for years, people kept asking me, when are you going to go back to your master's? When are you going to go back? I didn't know until last year. I was just like, you know what? I think it is time for me to step up and do it. And I think it was the best time for me to go and do my master's. So the more I wrote this note, the more I kind of discarded the thought that, not kind of, but I discarded the thought that this was anything that I did wrong. And the reason why I started feeling like that was because, January 1st, January 2025, things have just been happening where I'm saying to myself, I don't know what I did to trigger losing friends, losing my job. Yeah, I did lose my job after almost 2.5 years there, like 2 years and 3 months. And it just felt like everything was falling down on me because of this one decision. But really, actually, the only thing that I can see that directly came from me starting my master's was my job, because even though my manager was the person who wrote my recommendation to go to school, he probably never thought that I was going to get in. And whenever something would go wrong, like if I had an oversight on something or if I submitted something late, and it's not even like that late, it's before the due date but past the internal SLA, he would say it's because you're going to school and you're doing your masters, you're making schoolwork cloudy judgment. And something that I hold very true to myself is that I don't interfere schoolwork with actual work, because those are two separate things. One is my personal life and one is my professional life, and I keep them very separate because I chose to go to school. Right, but no force me. I chose to go to school, so I have to sacrifice any other thing in my personal life to focus on school. Anyway, and let's talk about before I actually started the program. When I got accepted, I was super excited. It was the only school I applied to. Didn't think I was gonna get accepted, but I did. Because after a while, I said, why would I not get accepted? I may not have, the grades for my first degree. However, for the past, 5 or 6 years, I have been working my ass off in marketing, and everything that I've done thus far with all my certifications and the projects and campaigns and companies that I've worked for. Like, I literally was working at iHeart when I applied to do my master's, and I even worked on global campaigns for like Starbucks as well as the Home Depot. So, what do you mean you thought you were going to get in? Anyway, and I was so nervous because I kept looking at my last school experience, which was UE, and saying if it's anything like you, I'm not gonna have a time. I'm not gonna have a time. I was so nervous. I said I was gonna go in and I was gonna feel so nervous and I'm gonna get cold feet and I'm gonna twist up in my stomach and everything. And when I tell you, it's a very different experience that I'm going to talk about in more detail, but after I complete the program and graduate, because I know I have more thoughts to formulate and I don't want to jump the gun and answer them too early. But I was really nervous about it. And, after talking to my friends and they reassured me, I reassured myself, spoke to my dad. I had to remind myself that when I went to UE, when I started UE, I was what? I just turned 18. So when I started UE, I just turned 18. And when I started NYU, I was 27, right? And me at 18 and me at 27, two different people, because I've moved through so many different phases of my life that I can't be holding myself to my 18-year-old standard. I've lived so many lives between 18 and 27, and one of the most important and transitionary periods that I've been through during that time was living alone. And I will always recommend living alone to every single woman because it truly shaped who I became. Um, because it was the first time in my life I could not run away from myself. And what I mean by that is I always had the opportunity to be around my sister, to be around my friends, to be around my family. But when I was living by myself, and trust me, I moved pretty far from my family here in New York, and I was living by myself, and I had to sit down with my thoughts every single day. I had to confront parts of myself that I didn't like. I had to confront things that I was trying to run from when I left Jamaica. Kawanti Bomi, she's a runner, she's a track star. But it was the only time I sat down and said, I am actually going to focus on healing from these things instead of pushing them to the side because they're still there, and again, that really contributed a lot to my growth. So when I looked at all these things and I went to my first class, I'm like, I can do this. And granted, the classes are smaller, so it helped a lot. And I finished my first semester with a 3.75 GPA. I've never had a GPA that high. My highest GPA at U was 3.3. In my first, if you know me burping on camera, you're an OG Next Chat fan. We're always burping on that podcast. Anyway, but yeah, my highest GPA at UE was a 3.31 semester, my first semester of UE, yeah. And so when I saw that it was a very different experience and I am a very different person, it gave me all the confidence that I needed. So that was that. During the program, everything was going fine for the first semester, fine and dandy. I was working full time, also going to school full time. I cried every day. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I cried every single day. There's a video of me in my phone in like October, a month after school started, breaking down because I didn't know how I was going to do it. Still did it, managed to do everything in at work, and then you know, finish with a high grade. So I got three A's and a B plus, which so I got the 3.75. One of them was an A minus, but again, still an A. It was like I think I got 91 or 92. And that's great for overall grade. And then so I was really excited and amped up for the second semester. Second semester was quite different. It was more, which is why when I got fired from my job, I got fired from my job 4 days before the semester started. So I got fired from the job the the Friday morning, and school started the Tuesday. And every time I was in one of my classes or doing one of my assignments, I said, God, you knew that I could not have managed to go to school and work full time during this time because it was the most assignments I've ever done. And I was looking for a new job and doing interviews, but they all kept tanking. And at one point, I kind of eased up on it because God was putting on my heart that I should focus on school right now because I need to just finish off the semester and then things will fall into place for me. So that's something that I did. I'm not gonna say I wasn't looking for jobs, but the level at which I was applying kind of slowed down. He got me and had me and kept me the entire semester. And one thing I can really say about my masters is it taught me obedience and discipline, and not obedience in just doing what you're told, but doing what God has told me to do. So I pray before I make any steps when it came on to making decisions that relate to school. So anything that surrounds school or is going to take me from my schoolwork, I was very obedient and listening to God to keep me positioned in this place. While in terms of discipline, I was tired all the time, but I still had to show up for my life, and I couldn't allow school to consume my entirety. So like, yeah, I blocked off a part of my life where I'm not gonna go out that much. I'm not gonna do too many things that's going to distract me from the end goal at the end of the day, because again, I signed up for this and I don't want to sign up for something and then not put my all into it, because frankly that doesn't make sense. And so I still had a routine where I was going to the gym, I was doing my schoolwork between X and Y time. When I don't think I even did much carelessness this entire semester, because it never really made a sense. Like last semester when me that travel, I was literally going on trips with my friends. I mean, I bring my laptop and I sit up on the beach. Everybody in the water and me I type, you know. But this semester I was definitely more disciplined, and it has made me grow a lot in terms of seeing how well structured I can be in this life, as well as it has made me grow in confidence. Because if you know anything about the master's program, you're always going to be talking. You're always going to be talking to a crowd. You have to talk to the crowd. You have to interact with the crowd, and that's something that I got pretty good at. Not only from my job, but my job made me confident. Yes, that's one. But it made me confident behind a computer screen, which is kind of the same as like doing YouTube. But being in this masters and talking to people, and you guys may be surprised because one of my close friends was actually surprised when I told him that, hey, I don't really like talking to people. Like, if it's time to introduce myself, I'm shaking in my boots. But it has helped me so much to present to the crowd, to talk to my professors, interacting in class, and sharing my thoughts and opinions that are being well received. Or a lot of times I am wrong, but that continuous conversation has led to me being even more well spoken, I should say, as well as it has helped my brain to process and innovate more than what I was doing before, you know. And so I was going to accredit it to that, and I can successfully say that I'm not afraid to talk up at any time to anybody. And if you see me glowing, it's because I really enjoy, doing my masters. It's my favorite thing that I've decided to do so far. And a lot of times when I post things on Instagram, because I am posting on Instagram and TikTok and sharing my journey with people, and everybody just feels like they're on the masters with me. But it's because when I initially wanted to do my masters, you guys were a part of that in the first place, from 2020, So if I can show, as well as if I can show people that school can be fun when you're actually doing what you enjoy, then I'm gonna do that. And everybody knows that I'm a straight A student. Like her, I'm gonna get A's all semester. I mean, I'm gonna get straight A's this semester. I already have two, so I'm just waiting on the next two to cement the fact that I did get straight A's. And looking at the notes that I wrote 4 months ago to the date, I said, I'm holding on to faith in all of this. You know, my life just feels really uncertain because I'm losing my friends. But I know that I'm losing my friends, my job security has taken a hit. I haven't had a new job where I can grow, and I'm on the brink of, losing my apartment. Like, that's literally how serious it was at the time. And the last sentence that I wrote was, God is preparing me to manage and maintain the blessing that He has coming my way. And I feel like what I went through in the second half of my masters definitely was preparation, because I feel like even being on this journey and going through the level of critical thinking that I'm going through, especially in an era of ChatGPT. Don't even get me started on ChatGPT. I was writing this, seeing it as a bad thing, but you see, it comes back to what I said earlier, that while writing this note, God put it on my spirit that this is not a bad thing. This is actually a blessing, because the last thing I said was, God is preparing me for the blessing that He has, to come my way. And I feel like a lot of times when we're talking about blessings, we want it, but we're not in a position to manage it, because wanting something and doing something is one thing, but to actually manage the thing that you're doing is a whole different ballgame. And it really, like, fun fact, it reminds me of these two courses that I did. So in my first semester, I did campaign one, which is a strategy and execution. So you're thinking of the strategy and you're thinking of how you're gonna execute it. And then campaign two is um management, right? So the planning and the management of the strategy and the execution that you're gonna do. And I learned so much about managing things, because yes, you can deliver something, but it's not really that successful if it's not, one, planned correctly, and number two, if it's not managed correctly. Because a lot of times we do tend to mismanage things that are blessings, and then we're saying, oh my God, but this wasn't a blessing, like this never worked out. It was supposed to. You just mismanaged it because you were being obedient enough and disciplined enough to also, pray for the spirit of management. You get what I mean? Like, a lot of the times we want things, but we aren't, like, properly able to maintain it. And I don't even know where this thought. But I'm saying, like, a lot of times we really aren't properly able to maintain things. So, like, when I was praying to do my master's the first time, I wasn't in a position to actually sustain doing the masters. Like, I couldn't manage or maintain doing that masters at that point in time. Like, God knew to wait until it was several years later. I was living by myself. I've hit a certain level of success in my career where I can sit down and said, this is the time, and I'm really happy that I chose this time to do it. I don't think there is another time in my life where I could have successfully done my master's and do it this well and also even go to NYU. You know what I mean? Because, like, I was even supposed to be in New York in the first place. Like, T. I'm going to delete this note because I don't think it's serving me to see something that has changed the trajectory of my life and look at it as anything but a blessing. Yeah, we're deleting it as anything but a blessing, because at the end of the day, this is something I have been praying for a few years. I prayed that I got in. I prayed that I was gonna find a way to pay for and maintain school, and I even got invited to, apply for the Dean Scholarship the other day. I mean, I said, girl, there was something, but I didn't end up applying because there were just too many things um, that needed to be done. And when I think about what I wrote about losing people and just losing things, a lot of people aren't supposed to be in your life, right? A lot of people are there for a season. They're there to move you to another place. And if you improve in your life, or making necessary steps to make a change, have people fall off, then that was just the end of their journey. Like they offer train for you go town, but your friend have to come off across the road because this is she live or she has some business to do there that has nothing to do with you. That is literally how these transitions in life go. And when I think about the people that I've lost, the cops are coming. But yeah, when I think about the people that I have lost, and I wouldn't say I lost them, it's just people that we just decided to part ways, for whatever reason. I'm unaffected. I'm not gonna say I never care for these people, I never loved them or anything, but I am seeing where my purpose and my journey and where I need to be is so much greater. And I thank you for everything that you have done. And it's just time for us to go on separate paths in life. If we meet up back one day, meet up back one day. But for right now, what I need to do is continue to focus on my masters and continue to do well, because where I am right now and these 2 years of focus is going to set me up for the rest of my life. And I can safely say that I should take a question mark of con- um, asking God if this is a blessing, because it is. I feel very emotional talking about it. And not only that, but even just listening to myself speaking this entire time versus like the last time I put out a YouTube video, or even just the last time I spoke about anything at great length, I just feel like a completely different person. I have grown so much, and I'm not gonna attribute that like to my masters or anything. I want to cry. Yeah, I'm not gonna attribute that to my masters or anything. I'm attributing that to my years, of living alone, which I'm gonna make another video about, because again, I think everybody should live alone. It teaches you a lot. It helps you a great deal, and it's really where you step into your true character for who you were supposed to be at that time. And I don't know, guys. Like, my growth has been literally insane. But that's all for tonight. I will see you guys in another video again where I'm talking about just living alone and living la vida loca. So don't forget to subscribe, hit like, hit comment, hit share it to anybody, and happy Monday.